In the 7th year of acting as a stand-in for Simon's first love, I got pregnant. I decided to run away with the baby, but I was caught and dragged back. He sneered, pinning me by the neck against the floor-to-ceiling window, mocking me ruthlessly. "Who the hell do you think you are? You think you're the hero of some romance novel? If your scent wasn't an 87% match for Xavier's, do you think you'd ever deserve to crawl into my bed?" I lowered my head, opening and closing my mouth several times before finally offering a weak defense. "I'm sorry, But when I actually tried to accept my place, he went crazy again. "Cameron, did life get too comfortable for you? Who gave you the nerve to try and get rid of the baby and leave me? Forget it. Since you came back, I won't hold it against you. I grew up with Simon and Xavier. Later, my family went bankrupt, and my parents were framed and thrown in jail. The Smith family was kind enough to adopt me. Xavier and I were both Omegas. The difference was that Xavier had been frail and sickly since childhood, spoiled beyond belief. In school, he'd faint just from standing in the sun too long during gym class. Simon had always taken care of us. But because of Xavier's weak constitution, whenever he was around, Simon's gaze was involuntarily drawn to him, following him every second. I was truly envious. I liked Simon, but Simon didn't like me that much. Simon hated the smell of my pheromones. He said my sweet, orange scent was cloying and disgusting, making him want to vomit the moment he smelled it. Whenever I went into heat, he would order me to stay far away from him. One time, Xavier, Simon, and I were doing homework downstairs. My heat came on suddenly.
I franticalli cerca fora suprasant patch. Xavier, Simon, im surri, I.
I don't know why my cycle is irregular. I'll put a patch on right away. But I heard Simon say coldly, "Don't bother. Go upstairs and shut the door tight." Xavier turned to me with a smile and said, "Cameron, Simon doesn't like your scent. Why don't you go upstairs first? You can come back down once your heat is over." Even though his words carried no obvious malice, I felt an inexplicable wave of grievance welling up in my eyes. I turned and fled upstairs, but the piercing laughter from behind me clung to me like a demon, chanting in my ear, "Don't be mad, Simon. That's just how low-tier Omega pheromones smell. It's not Cameron's fault." Why? I hid in the dark walk-in closet, curled up biting my sleeve, letting the sweet orange pheromones fill my nose, letting the tears flow silently. "Simon, does it really smell that bad?" My other hand held the closet door tight, terrified that even a wisp of pheromones would slip out and drift downstairs. Simon hated me.
Simon lika Xavier zarumunas.
He liked lime. I started buying huge amounts of lime perfume. I started secretly wearing the clothes Xavier threw away. At first, Simon didn't notice. He just frowned less often when I got close. My heart soared. Until that day, when a sudden downpour started, and Simon told me to bring an umbrella and help him pick Xavier up from school. It happened so fast I didn't have time to change out of Xavier's old clothes. I could only keep my head down and hide behind Simon. I prayed silently that Xavier wouldn't notice. But Xavier had always been observant. He saw it at first glance. He looked at me and said, "Take it off." Simon was confused. "What's wrong, Xavier?" Xavier reached out and shoved me. His eyebrows scrunched up like a caterpillar, the disgust in his eyes undisguised. "Thief. Disgusting. Take it off. You're not allowed to wear my clothes." Simon finally noticed. He swept a look of disgust over me, then quickly pulled Xavier under the umbrella. "Stand further in, Xavier. Be careful not to catch a cold." I lowered my head, clutching the hem of the shirt, explaining anxiously, "No, I didn't steal it. You stopped wearing it, and the maid packed it up to throw away." Hearing Xavier's words, Simon got angry too. He rushed up, shoved me to the ground, and ordered me to take off the clothes and give them back to Xavier. I looked at the torrential rain and the temperature hovering near freezing. I begged, "Can I take them off when we get home? I know I was wrong, Xavier. I won't do it again. It's too cold, I'll get sick." Simon looked at the pelting rain and hesitated. "Forget it, Xavier. Let him wear it home. You didn't want it anyway." Hearing this, Xavier got even angrier. "Simon, you're actually taking his side? You don't love me anymore." "He's pathetic enough as it is," Simon added with a look of disdain. But Xavier didn't hear that last part. Whether it was the rain or the emotional shock, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted right there. Terrified, Simon scooped Xavier up and rushed straight to the hospital. Before leaving, he ordered the driver to stay behind, watch me take off the clothes, and take a photo as proof before he was allowed to leave. I stripped off everything and walked in the freezing rain for 3 hours to get home. When I got there, Xavier's mom rushed up and slapped me across the face. "You heartless dog. Our family was kind enough to adopt you, and all you do is plot against our Xavier. Xavier is in the hospital because of you. Are you happy now? What are you standing there for? Hurry up and take this chicken soup to Xavier." I didn't even have time to go to my room and change before I was pushed out the door again. First, it was really cold. But later, as I kept freezing, I suddenly stopped feeling the cold. I even felt a warmth spreading through my body. The warmth went to my head. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. The doctor said I had hypothermia. Luckily, a kind passerby found me and brought me in, or I would have frozen to death on the roadside. "Young man, you can't squander your health just because you're young. If you end up with chronic issues, you'll suffer for it later." Later, whenever it rained, my joints would hurt terribly, like they were being stabbed with frozen needles. But back then, I didn't care about any of that. I ripped out my grabbed the thermos of soup, and rushed to Xavier's ward. But when I got there, Xavier's parents were huddled together, crying like children. Simon was kneeling at the door, pounding on the operating room doors, weeping silently. Xavier was dead. My head buzzed. When Xavier's parents rushed up to kick and beat me, I didn't feel a thing. My mind was filled with one thought. They couldn't save him. I killed Xavier. I was a murderer. I killed Xavier. After Xavier died, his mother went insane. To keep her from further agitation, his father decided to take her abroad to recover. After Xavier left, Simon went crazy too. I heard that Simon would grab anyone he saw and ask if they knew an Omega named Xavier, and where Xavier had gone. The Grant family wouldn't let a madman be their heir. Soon after, the family announced a new heir, Julian, the only son of Simon's uncle. Now, everyone in New York City knew I was a jinx. Single-handedly, I had successfully destroyed 3 families. I didn't dare face Simon again, and I certainly didn't dare love him anymore. What right did I have to love him? I didn't even deserve to appear in front of him. If not for me, he would be happily together with Xavier. They would have married, inherited the Grant family business, had a cute child, and become the power couple everyone in the city envied. But because of me, just because I was greedy enough to want him to hate me a little less, I stole Xavier's clothes. One wrong step led to another. Eventually, it led to this irreversible tragedy. I deserved to die. I really deserved to die. Xavier's family was so good to me, and this was how I repaid them. Xavier was so timid. He would be lonely and scared down there all by himself. I made the mistake, so I should take responsibility. Under the cover of night, I groped my way to the edge of the bridge. I carried a bottle of liquor and Xavier's favorite flour cakes. "Xavier, I've come to apologize. Will you forgive me? It's okay if you don't." I drank the last drop of alcohol, climbed over the railing, and sat on the edge, looking at the churning river below and the jagged rocks flickering in the dark. My heart was very calm. It was all going to end. At least I wouldn't cause any more trouble, and I wouldn't hurt anyone else. But just as I was about to lean forward and jump, I felt a sudden grip on my waist. A warm body pressed tightly against my back, and a pair of warm hands locked around my waist, making it impossible for me to move. I heard a familiar voice from behind me. "Xavier, are you going to leave me alone again?" My heart skipped a beat. It was Simon. Simon thought I was Xavier. Simon's tears soaked my back. He pressed tight against me, holding my waist, refusing to let go, with an attitude that said, "If you jump, I'm jumping. With you." Did he really love Xavier that much? In the end, I didn't die. The Grant family arrived. They rescued both me and Simon. Simon was delirious. The whole way back, he gripped my hand tightly, crying and shouting for me not to leave him again. The Grant family offered me a generous sum of money. The condition was that I had to inject pheromone mutagens to change my scent and pretend to be Xavier to soothe Simon. This was all my fault to begin with, so I refused the money and agreed to the Grant family's request. But when Simon held me, calling out Xavier's name. A sour bitterness rolled from my stomach to my nose, turning into hot tears in my eyes. Why did it still hurt? I didn't understand. Cameron, didn't you know all along that the person Simon loved was Xavier? How could you be so melodramatic? But, did you really like Xavier that much, Simon? Where did I fall short compared to him? I was a good-looking Omega too. Except for you, no one ever said my pheromones smelled bad. I didn't know why I loved Simon so much. His pheromones were like poison, possessing a lethal attraction that drove me mad the moment I smelled them. But he hated my scent. Later, Simon's condition improved. When he realized I wasn't Xavier, he went crazy and tried to kick me out. But the moment I left, his condition would destabilize again. Eventually, even when he was lucid, he stopped chasing me away. He accepted me with a sense of resignation. Just like that, I was Xavier's stand-in for 7 years. However, before any intimacy, he would demand I take double doses of the pheromone mutagen to ensure my own scent was completely masked. In bed, maybe out of resentment or maybe because he simply didn't care, Simon was always rough. Every time he put me in agony. Sometimes, when the pain was unbearable, I wondered if his heart hurt just as much, so much that he had to take it out on me. Or was he just punishing me for causing him to lose everything? If it were Xavier beneath him right now, would he be this rough? Would he be gentler, cherishing Xavier's feelings? The pheromone mutagens were extremely harmful to the body. After so many injections, my health began to deteriorate. Ironically, in this state, I resembled Xavier even more. Sometimes, looking into the mirror reflected in the French windows while intertwined with Simon, I would have a moment of trance. Is that really me? Why does the figure in the mirror look so much like Xavier? Is this my retribution? I fell in love with someone I shouldn't have. I killed Simon's true love, so I had to endure this, being tortured by the one I loved. Simon, it hurts. It really hurts. I'm not lying. Can you please be gentler? I'm sorry. In the 7th year of being a stand-in for Simon's white moonlight, I got pregnant. I stared blankly at the 2 clear lines on the pregnancy test. How did this happen? I took my pills every time. I stroked my stomach. My head hurt, a piercing pain like insects gnawing at my brain. Would Simon want this child? This was mine and Simon's child. Simon hated me so much. Even if this child were born, he would probably hate it too. I had been Xavier's stand-in for 7 years, Simon's punching bag for 7 years, and my body was ruined. Whatever debt I owed should be paid by now. I decided to run. Simon had been trying to reclaim his position as the Grant family heir all these years, so he didn't come home often. Recently, exhausted from fighting Julian over a prime real estate development in the North District, he had been sleeping at the office. I went downstairs and checked with Martha, who was cooking. She said Simon hadn't asked her to prepare dinner. He shouldn't be coming back tonight. I decided not to waste a second. I would run tonight, to avoid any complications. I contacted a friend in another city to buy me a plane ticket abroad overnight and packed my bags. I didn't dare pack too much, just a few essential clothes. While packing, I glanced at Simon's closet. In the end, I secretly stole a pair of his underwear. Not for me, but for the baby. Omegas in the late stages of pregnancy need their partner's pheromones for comfort. Otherwise, it can lead to fetal underdevelopment or difficult labor. On my way out, I greeted Martha guiltily. Martha, Simon drank too much at a business dinner again. I'm gonna pick him up. We probably won't be back tonight. Martha nodded and instructed me. You watch your health too. You fainted just today. Be soft with the mister. Ask him to go easy on you. I watched the young master grow up. He doesn't have a bad heart, he's just angry. If you yield a little, his anger will fade. Be a good boy. If he doesn't cherish you, you have to cherish yourself. I nodded to Martha, agreeing. But what I didn't expect was, Simon actually came home that night, sitting in the airport waiting area. I couldn't help but touch my flat stomach. Baby, don't be scared. Daddy will protect you. Just as I stood up to board the plane, I heard heavy breathing behind me, accompanied by a chilling aura. Cameron, you've got guts, don't you? You dare run? Simon was furious. On the way back to the Grant Villa, he didn't say a word. He just stared at me coldly, making my skin crawl. Once we were back inside, he dragged me straight upstairs to the bedroom without a word and threw me onto the bed. He pounced on me, tearing at my tie and suit, as if trying to rip away my last shred of dignity. I kept my head down, covering my stomach with my hands, biting my lip to endure it. Baby, stay strong. He tore my clothes to shreds. Then, with a sneer, he grabbed me by the waist and pinned me against the floor-to-ceiling window. I turned my head away, not wanting the baby to see my pathetic reflection in the glass. But Simon seemed to sense my thoughts. He grabbed my chin, forcing me to look. Come on, don't hide. Look at your expression. How slutty, how disgusting. After saying that, he lowered his head and rubbed frantically against my scent gland. I was instantly induced into heat, clenching my teeth to maintain control. I tried to slow down the release of my pheromones, but the thick scent spilled uncontrollably from my glands. Suddenly, Simon's hand on my waist froze. My heart sank with it. He flipped me over, his eyes red with rage. His voice was icy cold. Wrong. That's not the smell. He suddenly choked my neck, sobering up instantly. Cameron, are you out of your damn mind? You dare release your own pheromones? He became violently angry. And you dared to stop the mutagen injections without permission? The doctor said that if I wanted to keep the baby, I had to stop all injections, including the ones that altered my scent.
He lied. I'm sorry, I forgot.
His hand on my neck tightened. Did you really forget? Or are you lying to me? He suddenly released his grip. Like a fish finding water, I collapsed against the window, gasping for air. Simon turned and walked downstairs. I had just let out a breath and slumped by the bed to fix my clothes when I heard footsteps again. The door was kicked open. Simon stood in the doorway carrying a medical kit, smiling coldly at me. Forgot. Did you? No problem. It's not too late to inject it now. My hands trembling, I took the pheromone mutagen from the box and clutched it in my palm. I lifted my shirt but hesitated to insert the needle. Forget it. I suddenly felt a sense of release. My heart shattered into dust in an instant, and my body felt incredibly light. So be it. I owed him this. Baby, I'm sorry. I closed my eyes, fell back on the bed, raised the needle, and prepared to inject it blindly. Just as I was about to stab it down, Simon rushed over and grabbed my wrist. He twisted it with manic force, and I cried out in pain. The syringe fell to the floor with a shattering sound. He pinned me heavily beneath him. Straddling me, he choked my neck fiercely, forcing me to look him in the eye. Cameron, you actually wanted to inject it? Do you want to die? How long the hell did you plan to hide this from me? My eyes went wide. Simon knew? How did he know? His hand on my neck suddenly loosened. Then, as if deflated, he collapsed off me and fell to my side, hugging me and beginning to sob. Cameron, I'm really tired. I'm so tired.
I'm exhausted.
Can't you be sensible and stop making me angry? My voice trembled. I'm sorry. You know everything? He covered his eyes with his arm and nodded. Yeah. Martha told me you fainted today. Then I asked the family doctor. He said your body has reached its limit and can't take the mutagens anymore. He propped himself up, leaned against the headboard, and stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. Cameron, why didn't you tell me? I wanted to say so much, but it all got stuck in my throat. In the end, only a sour sting rose to my nose. What could I say? What was the point? Would saying anything help? Will you let me go then? No. He answered quickly, decisively. See? What was the use of talking? I sat up and hooked my arms around his neck. Forget it. Let's do it. Tomorrow, if the baby is still there, I'll find a small clinic to get rid of it. If it's gone, then so be it. To my surprise, Simon pushed me away. He tucked me into the blanket, fixed the corners, his voice incredibly weary. Not tonight. I'm tired too. Go to sleep. Tomorrow, I'll call Dr. Lewis to give you a comprehensive checkup and see why you fainted. Don't use the mutagens anymore. I already told Martha to throw the rest away. For the first time ever, he held me as the lights went out and began releasing his pheromones to soothe me, helping alleviate the discomfort of my heat. Because of this, I slept exceptionally well that night. I didn't even know that Simon left for a while in the middle of the night. He was burning up so badly he couldn't sleep, forced to take a cold shower in the bathroom, though even that didn't help much. Actually, since Xavier died, I hadn't slept this deeply in a long time. I wondered, when Simon found out tomorrow that I was pregnant, would he regret not choking me to death today? Forget it. It didn't matter anymore. The next day, the doctor arrived as promised. My secret was exposed, unsurprisingly. But Simon wasn't as furious as I imagined. He just frowned, listening to the doctor list my health issues one by one, and explaining why I couldn't keep the child. Get rid of it then. Sure enough, he reached an agreement with the doctor. Indifferently, I hid in the bathroom, trembling and cold all over. Even though I knew this would happen, tears still streamed down my face uncontrollably. Suddenly, I looked at a patch of sunlight on the floor and followed it up to a small, high window, just big enough for me to squeeze through if I curled up. An idea struck me. Simon was still discussing something with the doctor, probably the details of the abortion procedure. I stood on the toilet, holding onto the wall, and stood on my tiptoes. Good, I could reach it. Fate was finally favoring me. With great effort, I finally straddled the window ledge and stepped out. The bedroom was on the second floor, not too high from the ground. Using a large tree outside the window, I landed safely. I knew I couldn't run far. It wasn't dark yet. I didn't dare run. I hid in a cabinet in the gardening staff's temporary break room. Sure enough, not long after, Simon and his men discovered I was gone and started a massive search. However, I had already faked signs of escaping the villa, and misleading footprints I left behind sent them all chasing down the mountain. Not long after they left, the sky began to darken. Under the cover of night, I took the opportunity to go down the mountain, hailed a taxi, and left New York City overnight. I heard my parents had been released from prison. I left a letter for Simon. I told him I would get rid of the child, and that he didn't need to look for me. I had paid off everything I owed him all these years. My parents rented a small house in the countryside of Vermont. Later, as the pregnancy progressed, the country doctor said my consistent use of pheromone mutagens had damaged my constitution. He wasn't skilled enough and feared danger during delivery. So we moved to the city. My dad asked an old friend to contact Dr. Lewis, a famous obstetrician in Boston. But even Dr. Lewis sighed when he saw my condition. With a body like this, how could he be allowed to get pregnant? Where is your alpha? Call him over. I need to have a serious talk with him. I shook my head. He's gone. Dr. Lewis froze for a second, then his eyes filled with pity. Then how have you been getting through the pregnancy? Even for a healthy omega, pregnancy is very difficult. An alpha must be by their side, providing pheromone comfort constantly. I looked up at the old clothes sitting by the bed. I rely on this. Whenever the pain was unbearable, I bit down on the clothes I stole from Simon, desperately inhaling the residual pheromones. Dr. Lewis picked up the shirt, now worn and tattered, his eyes full of disbelief. Just this? Then what will you do during delivery? I shook my head. I don't know. Dr. Lewis sighed again. Forget it. Don't worry too much. With my skills, saving you shouldn't be a problem. I struggled to sit up in bed and grabbed Dr. Lewis's hand. No. Save the baby. I had carried it for so long. I couldn't accept anything happening to the baby. Dr. Lewis's eyes turned. Compassionate. I'll try my best. To prevent issues with pheromones, Dr. Lewis extracted mine and checked the volunteer database to see if there was a high-match volunteer who could help. If a high-match volunteer could provide comfort during delivery, the baby and I would be much safer. Hard work pays off. After n number of failed matches, just as Dr. Lewis was about to give up, his son came to bring him winter clothes. The moment he walked into the ward, his glands were strongly attracted by my pheromones, triggering a heat response. We tested it, and sure enough, the match was 98%, even 2% higher than Simon and me. Lucas was young and, true to his name, full of light and warmth. After listening to his dad's explanation, he agreed to be a volunteer without hesitation, showing up at the ward on time every day. As the delivery date approached, no matter how late or early it was, whenever I opened my eyes, I could see him. Sometimes, my parents couldn't bear it and urged him to rest. Lucas, thank you. You've really helped our Cameron a lot. He's stable now, why don't you go back and rest? We'll watch him for a while. Lucas rubbed his sleepy eyes. It's okay, Uncle, Auntie. I'm young and healthy. I can handle it. You guys should rest more. I got things covered here, don't worry. Besides, if Cameron wakes up and can't smell my pheromones, he'll feel sick. The day of the birth went relatively smoothly. With Lucas's comfort, the pain of labor was bearable. Lucas, that silly kid, held my hand while desperately releasing pheromones, crying like a baby himself as he cursed Simon for me. What a rotten alpha. Doesn't even know how to use protection. Gets his rocks off and leaves his omega to suffer alone. No sense of responsibility at all. Tui. Trash. Scumbag. Cam, just be my omega from now on. I promise I won't let you get pregnant and suffer like this. Let's raise the kid as ours, okay? I was sweating profusely from the pain. I wanted to laugh at his youthful foolishness, but it hurt too much to speak. What a silly kid. Young, tall, handsome, great personality. He didn't know how much of a catch he was. He could have any omega he wanted. No need to be dragged down by a used-up omega like me. The delivery process went well, except for one small interruption. Just as I passed out from the pain after giving birth, my phone started ringing. A strange number from New York City called relentlessly, one time after another, until Lucas answered it for me. The voice on the other end shouted with joy, "You finally answered, Cameron." Then, the voice suddenly turned inexplicably angry. "Cameron, was life too good for you? Who gave you the nerve to abort the child and leave me? Who the hell do you think you are? The hero of a romance novel? If your scent wasn't an 87% match for Xavier's, do you think you deserve to crawl into my bed?" Lucas originally thought the caller was a friend of mine. Hearing this, he understood immediately. He clenched his fist, wishing he could punch the deadbeat alpha to death through the phone. He wanted to scream at him, but he was afraid of waking me or upsetting me. He covered the phone and snuck out of the room. The person on the other end, hearing no response, got even angrier. "Cameron, are you mute? Speak." Lucas leaned against the wall, suppressing his rage. "Quiet down, you loudmouth. Didn't your family teach you how to speak properly? I'm telling you, Cameron has been exhausted all day. He finally fell asleep. If you wake him up with your trashy yelling, I'm coming for you." Simon heard a strange man answer, someone who sounded intimate with Cameron, and exploded. "What the FCK? Where did this punk come from? What's your relationship with Cameron? Let me tell you, Cameron is my wife." Lucas laughed coldly. "Oh, your wife? But I'm Cameron's husband now. He just gave birth to my child and is very weak. What do you want? Gave birth?" Simon felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Cameron really aborted their child and had a baby for someone else? "Cameron, were you that lonely? Couldn't go a second without a man? Wait, checking the timeline. The child should be mine." Simon covered the phone and called his secretary. "Sue, trace this number's location. Fast." He laughed mockingly into the phone. "Your child? Are you sure? You sound young. So eager to be a stepfather at your age?" Lucas was young after all and couldn't handle the provocation. He bluffed. "It is mine. What about it? I'm healthy, so Cameron got pregnant on the first try. Cameron got rid of your kid ages ago. This is a premature birth." Simon continued stalling for time. "Oh, you're not much better than me then. Based on the timing, he must have gotten pregnant right after an abortion. You're quite the animal for someone so young." Lucas was so choked with anger he couldn't breathe, punching the wall in frustration. He didn't notice that at some point, Cameron had woken up. Supporting my weak body, I walked over to Lucas. Lucas quickly freed a hand to support me. "Cam, why are you out of bed? Go back, you're still weak. What if you get sick?" I waved my hand at him. "It's fine. Give me the phone." Lucas covered the phone tight, looking like he wouldn't yield. "No. Letting that guy hear you scold him would be a reward." Meanwhile, Simon had successfully pinpointed the location. At my insistence, Lucas handed me the phone. "Simon." The voice on the other end sounded surprised for a second, then feigned toughness. "Fine, Cameron. Since you just gave birth to my child, if you come back now, I won't hold it against you." I shook my head. Before I could say the words of refusal, I heard Lucas scream, "Cam, you're bleeding. Why is there so much blood? Dad, 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 come quick. Cameron is bleeding heavily." The unfinished words stuck in my throat, swallowed by the rising scent of blood. "But, Simon, we can't go back." By the time Simon arrived, He only found a baby wrapped in a pink quilt. Tears streamed down his face uncontrollably. Holding the child, he sat at the door of the ward, grabbing every passing doctor and roaring, "Where is my wife? Where is my wife? I don't want the child. No, I want Cameron. I only want Cameron." But every doctor just patted his shoulder, telling him to raise the child well and not to be too sad. Only Lucas snatched the child away, carefully handed her to a nurse, then grabbed Simon by the collar and pinned him against the wall, punching him over and over to vent his anger. Let him raise her? Raise my ass. Does he deserve to? Does he deserve to raise Cameron's child? Simon let Lucas beat him without moving. He couldn't feel the pain. His heart was numb. It seemed that only while being beaten did he feel alive for a moment. A perfectly good child will be ruined by him. If he raises another ungrateful, heartless wretch, it would be a disgrace to the half of Cameron's blood in her veins. Saying this, he tried to take the child away. Simon finally snapped out of it. This was his and Cameron's child, the only thing Cameron left him, so he rushed up to fight for the baby. Meanwhile, Cameron was already on a plane to Switzerland, where the best postpartum and gland repair specialists were waiting. Simon's perspective: I am Simon. I wronged Cameron. I have liked Cameron for a long time, so long I don't know when it started. Maybe it was the day he was born, when Mom took me to the ward to see Tiny him, and I smelled a pleasant sweet orange scent in the room. Back then, Tiny me told a room full of adults, "Brother smells so good. I'm going to marry him and make him my wife." The adults joked about testing our compatibility, saying if it was high, maybe we were destined. They might as well arrange a betrothal since the two families were so close. The result shocked everyone. My compatibility with Cameron was as high as 96%. Let alone New York City, even in the whole country, an AO pair with over 95% compatibility was rare. So, from a young age, I swore to take good care of brother Cameron. Because he was my destined wife. When we were small, neither of our glands had fully developed, so the high compatibility only manifested as us thinking the other smelled nice. But when I turned 18, I discovered that smelling Cameron's pheromones would induce a rut instantly. I couldn't resist his scent at all. And that was the year Cameron's parents were framed by Xavier's parents. The Brown family went bankrupt, went to jail, leaving Cameron alone. The Smith couple pretended to be saints and adopted Cameron before my parents could. I knew Cameron's life with the Smith family wasn't easy, but I couldn't help him. After destroying the Brown family, the Smith family tasted blood. Having swallowed the Brown assets, their business expanded, and they became powerful. Soon, they set their sights on the Grant family. The Smith family secretly colluded with my uncle, attempting to install him as a puppet to cannibalize my family's assets. But because Xavier liked me, when he found out, he blocked the plan and proposed another. As long as he married me, the Grant family would fall into Smith hands anyway. However, soon after, he found my diary about crushing on Cameron and learned the secret of our compatibility. He threatened to secretly poison Cameron to death. I had no choice but to agree to stay far away from Cameron. So, I announced that because our compatibility was too high, his pheromones were too intense for me and made me sick. Cameron was heartbroken. He started using huge amounts of lime perfume, Xavier's scent, the scent I hated most. But when the lime scent was on him, I actually found it somewhat pleasant. Later, he started secretly wearing clothes Xavier threw away. Every time I saw it, my eyes would turn red.
I'm sorry, Cameron. I'm useless.
I didn't expose him. Instead, using that excuse, I let him get close to me, greedy for that bit of warmth. Until that day, Xavier suddenly ordered me to take Cameron to hold an umbrella for him. I intended to find a chance to send Cameron away halfway, but the rain got heavier and I ran out of time. Xavier found out. He knew I was getting close to Cameron again. He was so angry he had a heart attack on the spot, threatening to end the Grant family. So I secretly kicked his medicine away and deliberately scolded Cameron to stall for time. By the time we got him to the hospital, it was too late. He died and the Grant family was safe for the time being. But fearing the Smith family would still attack, I cowardly didn't admit the truth, and Cameron took the blame for me. I hurt Cameron. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry, but I had no choice, Cameron. Without the Grant family power, I couldn't protect you at all. As long as the Grant family stood, we had hope. I silently swore I would protect him for the rest of my life. Later, the Smith family attacked anyway. They poisoned my food. Luckily, I discovered it. I knew that if I didn't go mad, they wouldn't spare my parents. So, I played along, pretending to be poisoned, acting crazy all day, and handing the heir position to my useless cousin Julian. Later, when I heard my men say Cameron wanted to jump off a bridge, my heart almost stopped beating. I practically crawled there. Thank God, I made it. But I could only call him by another name. Only by pretending to embrace someone else could I feel his warmth. I was useless. I decided to advance my plan to take back everything. Although the Smith family moved abroad, their residual influence was strong, and Julian controlled the Grant family with their help. Regaining control was easier said than done. The fight lasted 7 years. Finally, just as I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, Martha told me Cameron had fainted. Before the meeting ended, I didn't even wait for the driver. I grabbed a car and sped home. But when I got there, I received the news that Cameron was gone. When I cornered him at the airport, God knows how fast my heart was beating. 2 more minutes and he would have been on a plane to Switzerland, and I would have lost him forever. But later, when I looked back, it would have been better to let him go. Medical care in Switzerland is better. Maybe he would have been fine. I was too greedy. When I found out he was pregnant, I was so happy I almost fainted. But the doctor quickly burst my bubble. He told me that because Xavier had been spiking Cameron's food with pheromone mutagens for years, his body was severely damaged. Even though I had been searching for antidotes all these years, I couldn't reverse the damage. Forcing him to keep the child would do him no good. Fine. The child didn't matter, as long as Cameron was okay. But I didn't expect him to overhear our conversation and escape through the window without hesitation. I sent people to search the whole country. Took a long time to finally get a phone number. But when it finally connected, the voice was a strange alpha. He claimed to be Cameron's husband and said Cameron was giving birth to his child. He was crazy. With Cameron's body, how could he have a child? And he had had an abortion. He must be some punk who couldn't get an omega and bought Cameron from traffickers. My Cameron must have suffered so much. I had to save him. Wait for me, Cameron. But when I arrived, there was only our child. Cameron didn't want me anymore. Cameron, you left me. Cameron, I'm sorry. For the next 10 years, I never gave up looking for him. I always felt he wouldn't just abandon our child and leave like that. In a daze, I mistook many backs for his. After he left, the world was empty of him. Yet the whole world seemed to be him. One day, when I went to pick up Clementine from kindergarten, I saw that familiar back again. I couldn't help but rush up once more. He turned around. Instantly, tears covered my face. It was him. He smiled at me slightly. Sir, you seem to have mistaken me for someone else. I cried and laughed, nodding frantically. Right, I mistook you for someone else. Then, anxiously, I picked Clementine up and held her in front of him. Look, this is my daughter. She's very cute. I raised her well. She's not ungrateful. He maintained his polite smile, reaching out to pinch Clementine's cheek. She really is cute. You've raised her well. Then, he waved at me. Goodbye, Mr. Grant. Maybe we'll meet again if fate allows. I wept as I watched him walk away, choking out. If fate allows. Clementine reached out and wiped my tears. Don't cry, Daddy. That uncle smells really nice. He smells just like Clementine.